So, what if an ancient chapter of wisdom could actually double as a modern day life hack manual? Well, that's what we're diving into today with Proverbs 11. It's this incredible text that lays out a surprisingly clear blueprint for how our choices, both the big ones and the small ones, end up creating the life we actually live. It all boils down to this one question. What if life isn't some crazy, complicated maze, but really just a simple fork in the road we face every single day? That's the core idea of Proverbs 11. It suggests that every single action, from how we handle our money to how we talk to our neighbors, is steering us down one of two very different roads. And, well, they lead to two very different destinations. So we're going to explore this chapter not as some dusty old scroll, but as a really practical map of cause and effect. Think of it like an ancient form of social science, just detailing what works, what doesn't, and why. So let's start where it all begins. The first, and honestly the most foundational idea in this whole blueprint, is that everything starts on the inside. Before we even get to talking about money or community, we have to look at our personal character. Why? Because according to this text, our inner world is what directly creates our outer reality. Okay, so there's a key word you're going to see a lot, and that's righteousness. Let's just strip away any old-fashioned feel for a second and think about what it does. It really just means being in right alignment. It's all about integrity, a state where your actions actually line up with your values. It creates a life that's straight and stable, not crooked and chaotic. And you'll see this pattern all through the chapter, these direct, side-by-side comparisons. Take this first one, pride versus humility. The text isn't just saying, hey, pride is bad. It's giving us an actual equation. Pride comes in, disgrace is what follows. And on the flip side, humility isn't just a nice little virtue. It's the very key that unlocks wisdom. It's a direct link between our attitude and our outcome. And the next contrast is just as stark. Integrity, that acts like an internal GPS, a guiding force that keeps you on a straight path. But duplicity, being two-faced, it doesn't just fool other people. The text says it literally leads to self-destruction. It's like a corrosive agent just eating away at you from the inside out. So how does this internal character actually translate to the world around us? Well, the next section zooms in on our actions, specifically when it comes to money, business, and wealth. And the principles here are just as direct. Check this out. The chapter opens with this incredibly practical metaphor about business ethics. Dishonest scales and accurate weights, that was the technology of the day, right? But the principle is absolutely timeless. Are you fair in your dealings? Do you give people what they actually paid for? The text frames this not just as good business, but as a fundamental principle for a stable society. Now, this is where things get really interesting, almost like a paradox. It's an economic theory that seems completely backwards. To a scarcity mindset, hoarding makes perfect sense. But this text claims that withholding more than you need actually leads to poverty. In contrast, generosity, giving freely, somehow results in gaining even more. It's framing wealth as a flow, not a fixed pile to be guarded. But then the text pushes even further, and it just drops this bombshell, this stark reminder about the ultimate limits of money. Wealth is worthless in the day of wrath. In the face of life's biggest crises, death, disaster, judgment, a bank account offers zero protection. The only thing that does, our character, that inner alignment we were just talking about. And this idea gets reinforced with this really powerful image from nature. Placing your ultimate security in your wealth is like building on shaky ground. The text says you will fall. But building your life on integrity, that's like being a tree planted by water. You will thrive like a green leaf, which suggests this resilience and life and vitality that money just can't buy. Okay, so we've seen how our character impacts our personal life and our financial life. So now let's look at the third layer, the social world. This is where we see how our individual choices have these massive ripple effects on, well, everyone around us. And this right here, this is a huge statement about our civic responsibility. Basically, the text is saying that the success or failure of an entire city can hinge on the character of its people. When people with integrity do well, the whole community celebrates, but the words and actions of destructive people can literally tear a city apart. The message is crystal clear. There are no purely private actions. And one of the biggest tools for either building or breaking that community, it's our speech. Notice the contrast here. Gossip is presented as a betrayal, a breaking of the social fabric. But being trustworthy, being someone who can actually keep a secret, that's what builds the bonds of a healthy community. It's the currency of all real relationships. Okay, get ready for one of the most memorable, just visceral images in the whole book. It's used to make a point about the mismatch between how someone looks and who they are. A gold ring is beautiful, valuable. A pig snout is, well, it's not. The image is so jarring because they just don't belong together. And the point is that outer beauty without inner wisdom, without discretion, is just as jarring a mismatch. So we've walked through the internal world, the external world, and the social world. Now the chapter ends by pulling it all together, showing us where these two paths actually end up. What's the final destination? All right, so here's the bottom line. The chapter just lays it all out. The first path, the one of integrity, humility, and generosity, is shown to lead toward life, and not just survival, but real flourishing and prosperity. But there's another path, the one defined by pride and deceit and greed. Well, it leads to a very different destination, ruin and death. I mean, you can't get much clearer than that, right? It's all about consequences. And to cap it all off, the chapter leaves us with this beautiful, powerful, organic image. A life of integrity doesn't just benefit you, it bears fruit. It becomes a tree of life, a source of nourishment and vitality for everyone and everything it touches. It's generative. It's life-giving. So that's the blueprint of Proverbs 11. It's a map of two paths, two ways of being in the world, with two very different outcomes. And it's not about judgment, it's about clarity. The map is in your hands. The only question left is, which path are your choices putting you on today?